Welcome to the 21-day journal challenge. And why do we take a journal challenge? Well, for me, after I finished writing Winds of Spirit, I became winded. And what does that mean? It's like I crossed the finish line out of breath. And so luckily I had hundreds of blog posts that I'd been writing over the years when I was feeling more creative, and I was depleted. And I think that's a natural state of a cycle of something. When you birth something, like you hear about a postpartum depression with mothers, it's just part of nature's cycle. If you look at a wheel, and I offered in my Wind Mastery program about really starting to live our life based in the seasons and the seasons of our own cycles instead of on some flat linear line. So for me, the journal challenge is a way of re-inspiring myself. And this time it came about because a good friend of mine who's a world-class editor said, hey, what do you think about holding each other accountable? And then I thought, well, okay, well, if I'm going to hold everyone accountable, I think I'll dig out the journal challenge and let's see who else wants to keep each other accountable. And so here we are. One of the things I would like to say is welcome. Make sure you have your simple tools in place, which means some kind of something to write in and something to write with. And the rest is pretty simple. Every single day you will get an email prompt. You don't have to follow the prompt. It's just to keep you inspired and moving forward. And some of these prompts come from other people. Some of these prompts come from me. And then also every single day on the Wind Clan wall, I will post a picture. It will say journal challenge, and it will talk about the process of writing. You don't have to go into long detail about what you're writing, but what you would like to do is put something about how the process of writing for you is today. Like today, I had 25 pens strewn about trying to figure out which one would write, and what is a good, what's a good ballpoint pen. I'm pretty fixed and rigid in my college-bound wire journal, one subject notebook, because I've filled up hundreds and hundreds of them over the years, but not anything lately. And what I thought we would start with is like an opening wind whistling. We're going to call in a wind spirit to help us with this journal challenge. Now, for those of you who are more familiar with the wind work, you can call upon your own wind and share that on the wall too, who you're working with specifically. But for some of you, this is your first experience with the wind work. And this journal challenge is wind powered. And what does that mean? It means that we're aligning our compasses into a natural rhythm, and we're going to call upon a wind that's stored in the sac to come out. And then I'll give you a little bit of information about that wind, who is going to keep us inspired. When you sit down there and you're sitting with your butt in the seat and you don't know what to write, you can call upon the wind or just start writing about your relationship with wind for that matter. The point is not to rewriting a book per se, although some of you might be doing this in order to get your book started. It's just about getting back in touch with the creative process that lives deep within you that sometimes can be overshadowed by life, the daily events, and all of those things. All right. So what wind wants to work with us? Oh, very interesting. We have the South Wind Notice, and why that's interesting, and I will share the spring equinox gathering worksheets and video on the Wind Clan wall, since it's clearly coming up again, is how we feel about things. And so we're going to call in and note us during this 21-day process to take us deeper into our feeling state. And maybe that's why I started this journal challenge this time, is because things are coming out of the blue, out of the darkness, out of the caves of time that I just don't really want to deal with. And it's in terms of, things that my father did years and years ago that now are coming back to haunt me, and he's been dead for almost 30 years. And one of the things that came up in this the equinox call, or on the belief call, because I'm trying to make this a little more evergreen, on the belief call, is that sometimes it's about so having a thought, something that you believe in, and then trying to understand about how you believe about that thought. So how do you feel about that thought? Better cut that out. I've had to say this 3 times for myself because it's a tongue twister. So if I have a belief, how do I believe about that thought? So for example, one of my default beliefs in my life is, what's the use? You know, you work, and you don't really can be spinning your wheels, and what's the use? So when I remove that idea of what's the use, which I did with work with my own shamanic teacher, then all of a sudden I'm left with a feeling about what's the use. Because what's the use is just this like, I was looking at it today when I was in my journal about like a locker, you know, that when things don't go the way I want, I open that locker door and go walking in and pouting in my locker. What's the use? However, if I actually remove that container of what's the use, then all of a sudden I have to work with what's behind that empty spaciousness in my inner being. And the wind work is all about that holograph that's in your inner being that matches the outer winds, and which I teach a lot in my wind mastery program. I'm not trying to get there today. However, in order to call in this wind for the South Notice, so all of a sudden I'm left with an empty container that used to be, what's the use? Everything got tossed into there. And now there's this, how do I feel? How am I feeling about this? And this weekend I noticed I was feeling agitated. I was feeling angry. There was a sense of urgency. And I've done so much forgiveness work. I wasn't feeling this specific anger at anyone. And luckily there was the anger video that we released everything to the fire that I could go back to and tend to. So there's so many tools in order to help you do this. This writing is one tool. We are gonna call to notice the south wind, and I'm gonna call to it 3 times. And then the first time, I invite you to plant yourself deep into the earth. Send those roots way down deep into the earth and connect them to the tree roots, go down below the bedrock, connect it to that flow of creative energy that flows like a river below the earth, and feel yourself connected to the global creative source. Plus we have over 100 people doing this journal challenge with us. So let's all get connected to the pool, the collective creative. And that's a wind. And we're gonna invite the south wind to come in and help steer our journey into the deeper part of our emotions that keep us from fully being present in our lives, or whatever it might be for you. And then the second wind, we're gonna actually invite notice in the south wind, and that's the wind of the summer, the lights coming back for those who you live in the north, or the lights going away for those of you who live below the equator. But that during this time, what are you tending to? So what better way to start to tend to that garden than by journaling without purpose for 21 days. And then on the third one, we're gonna actually, since we're working in a big group, we're gonna actually zip ourselves up and put us in a little bit of a protection with the south wind, so that we can handle whatever emotions come up from this time period. Are you ready? All right, let's call to the south wind notice. And we're connecting ourselves deep into the belly of the mother. Becoming like that river, moving around all of the resistances to flow. Now we're going to call to notice to come in and be with us as inspiration for this 21-day journal challenge. And next, we're going to create a sacred bubble around us and around everybody else who's working with us to stay connected through the Wind Clan on this challenge, because it's not easy to not check your smartphone or to get your email or to attend to everything else first. But for me, if I start writing before I do all of those other things, that is a great way to start my day. So I'm going to finish with this. And we're going to be holding space for anyone who's going to join this journal challenge at any other time in the process. Notice thanks you, and I thank you, and I'm really looking forward to being inspired by your inspiration. So welcome to the Wind Clan's 21-day journal challenge, and stay connected. Stay connected and learn more about this work at thepracticalshaman.com.